My dad was called Sean Brady. He was 55 and he was a key worker. So he worked at the Heinz factory in Wigan and he'd worked there for 34 years. And he was the kind of worker where he'd not had a day off sick since I was 3 and I'm 25 now. He was so committed to his job. He was so committed to me and to my younger sister. He would give me the clothes off his back if it thought he would make me happy. He was such a brilliant guy that thought so little of himself. And I don't think he ever would have imagined that his name would be mentioned by the Leader of the Opposition in the Houses of Parliament. It's just so heartbreaking that the reason his name is mentioned is because he died.
Yeah, you can go into as little or as much detail as you want in this. We're just looking at a few pictures of your dad. But take us back to that time in 2020 when, of course, he did contract COVID, and this was all pre-vaccination, pre-antivirals, all of the successes that the Prime Minister listed at the dispatch box today. He did contract COVID and, like so many others, unfortunately lost his life to it.
Yeah, we think he caught it on his way to work because he used public transport. He was so proud to be considered a key worker. He had a letter from his employer that he carried around in his pocket that he would show people proudly. He was considered a key worker. He was so proud of that. But it cost him his life. He went into hospital on the 2nd of April, unable to breathe, which we just couldn't comprehend because he went to the gym 3-4 times a week. He was super fit, really healthy. And within 3 days, we got a call on a Sunday night to say, you need to say goodbye to your dad over the phone because we're putting him in a coma and he probably won't wake up. And the last thing that he said to me when he was alive was that he was sorry that he was making me worry. Not that he was scared, not that he thought he was going to die, that he was sorry to me and my sister for making us worry. And that's the sort of guy that I lost. He died after 42 nights on a ventilator in a coma. Me and my sister were allowed in for his final moments. We could only touch him through PPE, and he was completely unconscious, so he had no idea that we were there when we let them turn his ventilator down and watched him die.
Well, for those to be the last words he said, yeah, good man, your dad, a good man. But so it happens on the 20th of May, where we now learn the Prime Minister was in attendance and whatever you want to call was going on in the back gardens of Number 10, but he was there. On that day, you were applying for your father's death certificate.
Yeah, we were getting his death certificate signed. The only thing on there was COVID because he had no underlying health conditions. We were shopping for a care package for his ICU nurses because speaking to them on the phone for those 42 nights, we could tell they were not taking care of themselves. They also asked us for Amazon vouchers from donations we got in Dad's name because they had no PPE and that's the only way they were buying it. So why families like mine, grieving families, were bereaved, were alone, away from their loved ones and their friends, having lost a guy like Dad. Boris Johnson spent 25 minutes at a garden party where 100 people had been invited to bring their own booze and enjoy the weather.
You met him at Downing Street before, of course, all of this emerged. I mean, what was the nature of your discussion? What did the Prime Minister say to you in that garden?
So I met him in the exact same garden where he'd hosted this party on the 20th of May the year before, which to me seems callous and cruel to host bereaved people in the same garden. I met him, I told him my dad's story, and I showed him a picture of my dad on a ventilator, which I'd never shown to anybody before, hoping that if he saw it, he would take what we were asking for, which was a public inquiry into the handling of COVID, more seriously. I hoped that I got through to him. He apologised, which I didn't need. I needed him to take the public inquiry seriously. What he did say to me, which will stick with me, is that he'd done everything he could to save my dad. He'd followed the science, but most importantly, he'd followed the rules. And he must have heard the date that I told him, 16th of May, 2020, the day Dad passed away. And in his head, he must have thought that was 4 days before our party. So it just changes the entire nature of our meeting. Because today he apologised for attending that party and apologised for what had happened on his watch. But if he had anything about him, any sort of decency, integrity, moral authority, which I think he's completely lacking, he would have admitted to this party to me then or before he was caught.
So what then, Hannah, do you make of what we heard from the Prime Minister today? And I say it not to challenge you, but just to try and just to keep our viewers, give the proper context to our viewers. He, as you mentioned, he issued an apology. He said in direct response to Sir Keir Starmer that he sympathised deeply with your situation. I wonder if you accept those sympathies and those apologies from the Prime Minister today.
I don't accept those sympathies and I don't accept that apology. I think that an apology made under duress is not meant at all. If he'd admitted to it before he was caught, then perhaps it would mean something. But an apology isn't just words. You have to accept the consequences of your action and the responsibilities that you have as the leader of this country. I'm a trainee teacher, and when I tell a pupil that they've done something wrong, they're angry, not that they've done something wrong, but only that they've been caught. And that's what the Prime Minister reminded me of today. He looked furious at being caught, not at what he'd done.
Well, Hannah, I'm sure your dad would be very proud of the eloquence with which you've spoken this evening. Hannah Brady, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.